Yes, then, there is one opening today. Regarding the Negishi Housing District.
Yes, good morning, thank you very much. There was an opening statement in the 10th session, please.
Yes, then, there is one opening today. Regarding the Negishi Housing District, approximately 43 kilometers, for the U.S. military located in Yokohama City, Kanagawa Prefecture, the Japan-U.S. Joint Committee decided on March 12th of this year to proceed with the work towards conversion, and we have been coordinating with the U.S. side towards the conversion. We have now concluded the coordination and decided to convert everything by June 30th. The specific date of handover after conversion is scheduled for the end of fiscal year 2026. We will consider the situation in the future based on the status of the restoration work, but we will promptly notify the landowners when we have a decision to make. The transformation of the Negishi Housing District is a retrospective project promoted by Yokohama City, and it has great significance from the perspective of supporting future urban development. The Ministry of Defense will continue to listen to the voices of local residents and work with Yokohama City and others to respond appropriately so that the current conversion of the Negishi Housing District will lead to effective retrospective treatment for the local residents. That is all for the opening statement. The organizer would like to ask two questions. First, I would like to ask about the U.S. military's plan to conduct parachute effect training at Kazushima Air Base tomorrow, the 27th. If it is conducted this time, it will be the fourth time since the Aishima Auxiliary Factory resumed operations. Normally, conducting parachute effect training at Kazushima Air Base is supposed to be an exceptional case, but has the U.S. side contacted the Ministry of Defense about conducting parachute effect training at Kazushima? Also, please tell us the Minister's view on whether the Ministry of Defense will approve parachute effect training. Yes. In conducting this training, we have received an explanation from the U.S. side that parachute effect training will be used in exceptional cases based on an agreement between the Japanese and U.S. officials, and the Ministry of Defense is currently confirming the details. In order to achieve the objectives of the Japan-U.S. Security Treaty, we believe that it is extremely important from the perspective of maintaining the U.S. military's rapid response system for the U.S. military to conduct various training, including parachute effect training, at the necessary times. On that basis, parachute effect training is basically conducted at the Aishima Auxiliary Factory based on an agreement between the Japanese and U.S. officials, and the use of parachute effect training at the Kazushima Auxiliary Factory will be limited to exceptional cases. The Ministry of Defense will continue to work hard to ensure that the U.S. side pays due attention to the safety of the training and minimizes the impact on the surrounding area. Secondly, I would like to ask about the incident in April of this year in which a U.S. military soldier stationed in Okinawa allegedly committed sexual assault on an acquaintance. He was arrested on suspicion of non-consensual assault, violation of the Act on the Prevention of Violence and Disability, and failure to report. Up until now, whenever an incident or accident involving the U.S. military has occurred in Okinawa, the Japanese government and the U.S. have repeatedly stated that they will take thorough measures to prevent recurrence. However, with incidents and accidents occurring repeatedly, has it become increasingly difficult to prevent recurrence? Minister, what is your reaction? I am aware of the reports, but I understand that the incident you are asking about is currently under investigation by the investigative authorities. And I would like to reiterate that the Ministry of Defense must refrain from commenting. Furthermore, incidents and accidents involving U.S. military personnel and others cause anxiety to local residents and should never occur. In this regard, the United States has announced a series of preventive measures to thoroughly implement measures to prevent recurrence and prevent future incidents, and is reviewing the Liberty System, which sets out rules for leaving U.S. military facilities in Japan and taking various measures. What is important is that the United States steadily implements feasible measures that will lead to the prevention of recurrence, and we recognize that efforts on the part of the United States are essential. Therefore, we have been strongly requesting the United States to thoroughly educate and train soldiers and prevent future incidents at every opportunity. Secretary Hegseth and I have also agreed to promote cooperation to prevent future incidents and accidents involving U.S. military personnel in Japan. We will continue to request the United States to thoroughly implement measures to prevent future incidents and accidents, and make further efforts at every opportunity. In addition, in Okinawa City, the U.S. military, Okinawa Prefecture, Okinawa Prefectural Police, the Okinawa office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Okinawa Defense Bureau are participating in joint U.S.-Japan regional safety patrols aimed at preventing future incidents and accidents. This patrol has been conducted 11 times so far, and the Ministry of Defense will continue to participate in such efforts. Yes. Is that okay? This is from the Nikkei Shimbun. Good morning. I would like to
ask about the Tomahawk missile. Regarding the Tomahawk that the Japanese government plans to procure from the United States, there are some reports that the Minister of Defense was informed by the American Defense Minister Hegseth this month that the delivery is expected to be delayed. So, I would like to ask whether the information reported in the report was conveyed, and whether the Ministry of Defense is aware of the expected delay in the delivery of the Tomahawk. Yes. I am aware of the reports, but there is no fact that Secretary Hegseth and I held a meeting earlier this month. However, there is no change to the fact that we are currently planning to acquire the Tomahawk between fiscal 2025 and fiscal 2027. We will continue to work closely with the United States to ensure appropriate acquisition. In general terms, there may be delays in the procurement of equipment from overseas. In such cases, it is natural to make efforts to ensure that our country's defense is not affected by operational improvements, but given the risks associated with such procurement from overseas, I have always said that it is essential to have a foundation for manufacturing domestic products locally. To that end, I would like to further strengthen our defense production base. Yes, my name is Matsuda from the Okinawa Times. The Okinawa Defense Bureau conducted visual inspections at U.S. military airfields and found that the number of takeoffs and landings from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. the following day increased by 30% over the previous fiscal year to 2,766 times. The Japan-U.S. Noise Control Agreement stipulates that night flights should be kept to a minimum. Could you please tell us the minister's view on this point?
Yes. I understand that the number of takeoffs and landings at Kazahana Airfield from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. the following day in fiscal 2025 was approximately 2,770 times, an increase of approximately 30% compared to the previous fiscal year. As our country faces the most severe and complex security environment since the war, we recognize that the U.S. military is conducting necessary operations while placing the security of the surrounding region as a top priority in order to achieve the objectives of the Japan-U.S. Security Treaty. The Ministry of Defense is strongly urging the U.S. side to comply with the aircraft noise control measures agreed upon by Japan and the U.S. We have received an explanation from the U.S. side that while conducting necessary operations, they will seek a balance with the lives of residents based on the Japan-U.S. agreement and minimize the impact on the surrounding region. We will continue to urge the U.S. side to minimize the impact of U.S. military operations on the region while strictly adhering to the Japan-U.S. agreement. Yes. This is a joint statement. I would like to ask about improvements to the Ministry of Defense's operations. As mentioned by the minister and in his previous speech in Sapporo, it seems that the practice of young staff members distributing materials to members of the Diet will be discontinued. I understand that staff members have expressed their concerns, but please provide detailed information on the process from the request to the distribution. Also, please explain the significance of such operational improvements. Yes. Well, even before I became Minister of Defense, when I was Minister of the Environment and Minister of the Environment, I was aware that, considering the burden on everyone in Kasumigaseki, there are many cases where improvements to the workplace environment and operations cannot be achieved without political action. So, I have been saying since last week that I want the Ministry of Defense to actively raise its voices. In particular, since the time of Masuda, there has been a funded team for operational improvement, and I have been looking at the list of specific operational improvements that are needed. However, when it comes to making decisions and implementing these, it is difficult to stop or take action unless the minister makes a decision. So, I would be happy if this decision could serve as an opportunity for employees to feel that it is okay to speak to the minister. And, well, I also have an AI team. But the reason why that AI team decided to use AI to create a draft of my answers in the diet was because the enormous amount of work related to diet affairs was discouraging to young staff members. And unfortunately, there are many mid-career employees in Kasumi Gaseki. Compared to the private sector, this way of working is outdated. After years of supervision, this is how people work. This is the norm in this world. And even if they think things should change, they've given up and think, no matter what, nothing will change. So, some of our members have had that kind of experience, and I think there are some who have given up. So, I want to help shape that, even if it's just a little bit. Well, as a result of this, the staff member who had previously conveyed my message, the younger staff member, said, "You really told the minister, and I've heard that this message has reached them, so I'm going to continue to ask, what's next? And make sure that each and every one of these things is connected to my work." It's okay, sorry, just to be sure, I'm asking about parachute training. Yes, we've been informed by the US side that they will use the Defense Force in exceptional cases. We've been informed, but the Ministry of Defense is still checking the details. As a general rule, the basic principle is to conduct operations at the Aijima Auxiliary Base based on the Japan-US agreement. On top of that, we'll use the DINA in exceptional cases. We've been informed of this since the closure. And we're still checking the details this time. Regarding this training, you didn't receive an explanation, but rather, did you mean that it was based on infrequent communication? Regarding the implementation of this training, the United States explained that, based on the strong support of Japanese and American officials, excessive flights would be used in exceptional cases, and the Ministry of Defense is currently confirming the details. By details, we mean the details of what this exceptional situation entails. So, you mean further details.
Regarding this training, can you just use words? Yes, as I mentioned earlier. Yes, excuse me, we have time. Yes, this is Watanabe from TBS. Excuse me. Regarding the Tomahawk missile that was mentioned earlier, if, hypothetically, a Tomahawk missile were to be used, what impact do you think it would have on Japan's security? Also, you mentioned earlier that overseas procurement carries risks, but can you say that Japan currently has the production capacity to cover overseas procurement? Please tell me about that. This is not limited to Tomahawks, but also to items that are planned to be procured from overseas, and for which payments have already been made. If these items are not delivered as scheduled, risks like these are bound to occur when relying on overseas sources. Considering these things, isn't it clear that we need to create an environment where we can maintain a solid defense capability and be able to meet a certain level of demand ourselves when necessary? That's why there is talk of joint production. There are also issues to consider, such as which parts Japan will manufacture or take responsibility for. Currently, the United States' manufacturing and production capacity for equipment is increasing, and there are parts that the United States itself cannot meet. President Trump and Secretary of Defense Hegseth have been actively appealing to the defense industry, but the process is simply too slow. The US military is not receiving the necessary supplies at all. As voices like these are already being heard within the United States, Japan must also have certain things it needs to build up its own deterrent capabilities in the regions where it is needed. I believe that such things, including the current situation, should be understood by the public. Recently, in relation to defense equipment, DBJ has lifted investment restrictions, and the recent construction of a large-scale facility in Aichi Prefecture, as well as the Prodroid Royce project. I believe that we need to turn the gears one by taking such measures. When I go to the Diet, some political parties say, cooperating with the United States is no good. If we can't buy from the United States or make things in Japan, how can this country survive? Sometimes, the Prime Minister makes such statements that I want to ask him about them. However, I would like to make this a step that many people can understand, including such matters as this one, and I would like to steadily steer policies in the direction of strengthening the defense production base. Yes, I apologize. We are running out of time. That is all.